How people live in the most unlivable city of Russia. Archangelskas. Dokumentika apie Rusijos miestą.
It seems that unless you just get over it, you're gonna go crazy. Because I don't understand how anyone can live here. We've just arrived here, but we didn't expect this place to look so bad. And I don't even remember seeing a mess like this anywhere in Russia. That's a typical situation. Oh my God! We get our pensions. What's the problem? At least we have a roof over our heads. I've already shown you how Russian villages are dying and losing their last inhabitants. This time, I'll show you one of the regional centers of Russia, Archangelskas, which I visited at the end of 2020. It's the largest city in the European north part of Russia. It's home to more than 340,000 people. There are areas in the city center where people live in rotten wooden houses that no one wants to fix or resettle. 1 month after posting this video on my main channel, I received a call from the Archangelskas police. The reason was that a local resident accused me of insulting their people and disrespecting society. During the examination process, the officers found no violations and the case was closed. So let's see what all the hype was about. If you haven't yet seen my other videos from the Russian north, then be sure to check out my channel, watch, and subscribe. I post new videos once a week, so if you're interested in my content, click on the bell so you don't miss it.
Jo balsas tai kaip AI balsas, kur skaito tekstą tiesiog.
This is Archangelskas in 2020. Behind me is one of the few uninhabited buildings here. It was so rotten and dilapidated that it collapsed, and the government was eventually forced to resettle the people living here. All other buildings around here are in slightly better condition, but they're also on the verge of collapse. And yet, people still live in them. This type of housing was built 90 years ago, back in the 1930s. The construction took place when the region was rapidly developing. These barracks obviously weren't supposed to last until the 21st century and to accommodate people for such a long time. They don't even have proper living conditions. They're now completely rotten, but thousands of people continue to live in them, and they probably will until all their homes rot and collapse completely. I first came to Archangelskas shocked by the living conditions of its inhabitants. I was touring the district called Sulfati and kept thinking that I got into some disaster area. I visited many cities in Russia, but I've never seen so many people living in such terrible conditions. The entire district is full of rotten, dilapidated wooden barracks. And this isn't the only district of its kind in Archangelskas. The Soviet government built these barracks in the 1930s and 60s as temporary housing. Since then, the USSR has collapsed, as have the barracks. These houses are stuck in a kind of limbo. They can no longer survive, but they can't die either. 5 years after my last visit, the situation in Sulfat district has not changed. The same people are living in the same houses, and the authorities aren't rushing to relocate them. However, over these 5 years, Archangelskas has had 3 different...
Gerai, aš pažiūrėsiu Archangelskas, kuris geografiškai yra, gal ir jums įdomu yra, aš neįsivaizduoju, kuris sakė šiauriai kažkur, bet o kodėl man nekrauna Aivo užkrovė? Čia labiau šitoj pusė, aš galvoju, bus kitoj pusėj. Čia ne, nu jo, toks biškai remote tikrai ir šiaurėje jau tikrai. Atrodo vieta, kur po ten 50 ar po 100 metų, kai klimato kaita visą kitą pasaulį, žinai, padarys jau nebegyvenama, tai čia šiaurė bus labai netgi zaibys, gal netgi tropinė šalis, žinai.
Different mayors. The new mayor, Dmitry Morev, agreed to tour the city and look at the life of Archangelskas with me, although at that moment he'd served as mayor for only a couple of days, so I couldn't really blame him for anything. What about the Sulfat and resettlement? The people have been waiting for 20 years to get resettled. Look, here's the situation. We have almost 3,500 multi-apartment wooden houses in our city. Of these, 900 have already been recognized as dilapidated. Every year, we label 100 to 120 more houses as dilapidated. And the resettlement program we are currently working with obviously doesn't meet these needs. But we're working on it. We're working on it. How many people get resettled under this program every year? Well, we now have a 5-year resettlement program that's supposed to provide resettlement for 350 apartment buildings, and we now have 900 of them, as I said. So if you say there are 300 houses to get resettled over 5 years, and then every year there are 100 more houses, then the number of dilapidated houses is increasing rather than decreasing. Yeah, I have to admit that. Yeah, this barrack is burned down, and this one is pretty stable. Although people say these houses are fine, one lady just told me there's no need to resettle them. They're fine. I guess fine is when they're not rickety or sunken. Here's the yard that obviously has no asphalt, nothing.
Fine yra, kai neturi su kuo lyginti ir jokios perspektyvos nėra. Kai nesi buvęs niekur niekad kitur ir tiesiog neturi kur net su kuo lyginti, negali įsivaizduoti, kaip gali būti kitaip, tipo. Tada fine, taigi viskas, taigi.
The ground is more or less solid now that it's frozen. When it's spring and it gets a little warmer, it becomes impossible to walk on the roads here. That's what it looks like, and you can find more photos on the internet. It's a total mess. That's a typical situation. There was a pipe burst. You can get an idea of what conditions these houses are in, the houses that people live in. If you look at all this, it seems like this is a natural disaster scene, that this is some kind of abandoned village, that people can't live here. But you see curtains, some plants, and it becomes clear that, unfortunately, people continue to live here. Despite that pipes are broken, and it stinks of sewage, everything is leaking. In summer, and after the rain, everything here gets flooded. And that's why there's a kind of raised sidewalk near many of these barracks. Rats are running around and it's just absolutely terrible here.
Oh, damn.
Basically, I don't know how people live here. But the story's been going on just like this for years. There's no end in sight. Hey, while you're here, do me a favor. Share this video on Reddit so that more people can see it. Now, this is quite an unusual case, because these barracks aren't just some ordinary 2-story pieces of wood, but they're also nicely decorated. This is some kind of wooden decor here, and this one is the most unusual because it even has some plat band around the windows. There's also some wooden decor in the middle, which used to be painted with bright paint. Everything is cars everywhere, and people live here. Here's a very typical case. There are water pipes, and they're completely rusty and rotten. Here it's leaking, there it's leaking, and it's not something that's out of the ordinary. No one's doing anything to repair it or to seal off these pipes. It can leak for months here. The water flows under the houses, they rot, and nothing's being done about it because everything is a mess here. It's all in disrepair and it can't be fixed. Surprisingly, nobody's paying attention to all this chaos while we're filming. The people walk by and wonder what it is we're so terrified of. They say, "Have you never seen anything like this?" Well, I haven't. Let me show you my house. This is where I lived until the 15th of August. I'm so lucky to have been resettled. The door barely opened, and I was afraid that the stove would just one day collapse on me. This was my room. Before, it used to be a kindergarten. At first, there was one group of children, and then two. Jesus Christ, what a mess. I used to come here from time to time to pick up my stuff. The last time was a month and a half ago. Just look at this. Horrible. It's crazy that even all the wiring is torn out. Look at this sideboard. When I came here after 2 weeks, it was already empty. Please, come in. No one's home now, so there's water. In the morning, it's impossible to take a shower. The house is rickety, and so are the walls and the doors.
Čia panašu, kad plytas ir griuvėsius kolekcionuoja.
Look, the flooring is broken. In 2004, our house was raised and the piles were changed. And now the house is skewed. There's no point in repairing it. According to the website for the Housing and Communal Services Reform, 27,350 people were included in the resettlement program of the Archangelskas region for 2019 to 2020. Now 10,000 people were from the city of Archangelskas itself. However, only 9,500 people were meant to be resettled into new homes. It's not clear what the rest of the people were supposed to do. However, even this number of people weren't eventually resettled, and there are many more in need of new housing in Archangelskas. Hey there, how are ya? I'm fine. Do you live here? Yeah. Do you know why these barracks aren't getting demolished? Why are you asking? Oh, we're from out of town. I don't know. They're not resettling. They're not so bad after all. This one and that one over there. Well, those ones are quite new. Quite new. Yeah. And those rickety ones? Oh, these houses are about to be resettled. I was here 5 years ago, and already back then they were about to be resettled. Yeah, we don't know when. There's one nearby that's currently being resettled, and these ones will be too, very soon. So you believe they're going to be resettled? Of course they will be. They've already started, so... Alright, so how's everything else here?
Čia matom background'e tą močiutę, klauso Putino ir gimdo savo 8 vaiką, nes kaip ten sakė, gimdykit, kaip ten sakė, bobos prigimdys, ar kaip ten išsireiškis, tai va, jinai jau klauso Putino, jau gimdo toliau, lieka pareiga.
Everything's fine. No complaints? No. What's there to complain about? All right, so even though it's autumn, there's water all around the house. Everything is damp here. The pipes are leaking and rotting. Also, it stinks like hell in the summer. These barracks are slowly starting to either sink into the ground or starting to collapse. The sewer pipes burst and damage the houses even more. Now, this nightmare's been going on here for ages. As you can see, this is a typical situation here. It never ends. It's always very...
Kiek metų fotininkai taip sakai, ai čia Sonijas parašė, žinok, aš tai nesiraučiau ant Rembo, jisai klėlinusi mano, ką kalba, jis yra selfie pasidaręs su telefonu kažkada, tai jis labai daug patirties turi su fotikais.
Very damp, and you can imagine the conditions inside the house. We're talking dampness, mold, fungus, rats, and the entire district is like this. Here, someone was lucky and got resettled, because some windows are boarded up and some are just broken. But the rest of the house is uninhabited. Look, the house is in such a bad state that there are some wooden planks covering a hole in the wall. The pipes are broken and the house is rotting while upstairs the lights are on, meaning people still live here. Okay guys, so this is a sewer. It may look like a lovely river or like a canal in Amsterdam or like some trendy landscaping element, but no, it's a sewer that was urgently dug up because it was clearly made in a rush. Also, the smell definitely means it's a sewer. How are you? I'm all right. Are you? No complaints? No? So you like this? What? The house. It's about to collapse. Oh, I don't care about that. Oh, you don't care? Nice. This is another typical case here. When you speak with the locals, they all say, it's fine, we've got no complaints. It seems like they just put up with this. That's why many of the things we see can be explained by the fact that local people simply have put up with the circumstances, and they think this is all right. There's nothing to complain about. It's better to just leave it the way it is. Similarly, the government is in no rush to solve this problem or to do anything about it. As a result, everyone's supposedly satisfied. Everyone's internally outraged, but overall, after all these years living in this mess, the people got used to it. We keep asking people how they feel, and they all say, it's all great.
Aš prisimenu tą epizodą, kur Kaune buvo prie vieno parko, ten kur vanduo yra, tipo, ir neužsisuka, man atrodo, iki galo ar kažkas, ir ten lašėjo vanduo 2 dienas ar 3. Ir apie tą parašė ir kas vyksta Kaune, ir tada per video parodė, pareportino, skundą gauna iš karto, parašo, čia namai griūna, kanalizacija laukia, atsipsas, viskas gerai, kad čia aiškini, viskas čia gerai yra, okay.
Great, even though we're literally standing in front of a building that's about to collapse. I mean, I'm scared to even come close to it.
Jis yra, jo. O kodėl rusai tai tokie drąsūs ir karus eiti prieš NATO ir panašiai? Nes jie atominių tai nebijo. Čia atominio užmiesto ar kažkas pamatyti skirtumą?
It's very damaged and rickety. How can this be fine? Just look around. But the people are satisfied. I feel like I'm in some horror movie.
Jesus.
I hear children's laughter and it's somewhere in the woods. I guess this was once part of the school's territory, but now it's abandoned. And there's like a proper forest here. I guess nature's healing. We were lucky that the trail was frozen, otherwise we would have sunk deep into the mud. There are some doors and canisters laying around. It all looks very creepy. Ooh, watch out, that's slippery. All right, we're now entering another one of these houses. The door won't close because the house is so sunken that the doors become immobile. You gotta bend down to enter. You can also see the water level here. It's all flooded. Obviously, these houses have no straight walls left, and many of the windows are cracked. Everything looks damaged, and it looks really creepy and scary. I have no idea how people can live here. And all the houses are like that. So it's not like we found one bad house. They all are. This is dilapidated housing, completely unsuitable for human life. But it's still inhabited by many people. All of a sudden, a two-story panel house that's located here for some odd reason. This looks like elite housing. When you walk around here for several hours, you don't see any straight lines because everything's crooked. And then all of a sudden, a straight two-story panel house. It's such a huge contrast that I'm starting to fall in love with it. Look, there's another house that's collapsed from dilapidation.
Kas su tais vamzdžiais virš? Nes, tipo, pala, ar čia šiaurė yra ir žemė įšąla ir negali daryti po žeme? Ar čia buvo, nu, ar dabar yra tokia technologija, nu, bet aišku, dabar čia senai statyti. Anksčiau čia dėl to statė? Kodėl anksčiau statė vamzdžius taip pakeltus? Įdomu, dėl kokios būtent priežasties, gal čia kelios priežastys.
It's crazy that it's not getting demolished. For example, this one is totally inhabited and it's not collapsed.
Turbūt daug pigiau negu po žeme daryti komunikacijas, net jeigu viskas gerai būtų su šaltumu ten ar whatever.
It collapsed and no one's bothered. I wonder at what point they decide to demolish the house. Probably at a point when it literally starts to collapse, when the walls and ceilings start to go down. Only then will people be resettled. Before that, you have no choice but to live here. No one's rushing to resettle the people, even though these houses are clearly in untenable conditions. What do you think about all this? Well, the entire township is collapsing. Our little town. You know, 5 years ago, I was here from Moscow myself, and nothing's changed in those 5 years. Yeah, that's right. This is one of the main streets in the town, and the people didn't even board up the windows. People throw garbage inside, and children are playing around. This is a highly dilapidated house that can go at any second. No one gives a damn. Do you like these houses? No. Finally! Why are you the first person to complain? I don't know. Are people being resettled? I'm not sure. Definitely not in our house. Oh, I see. There's one house that's supposed to be demolished, but it's not clear when it's going to happen. And how do you live in these houses with all this crazy dampness? Yeah, it's really damp everywhere. The basements are flooded. We're getting resettled in 2025. 2025?
Oh, man.
Yeah, they've just put it on the list last May. How much do you pay for utilities? Okay, so I have a 3-room apartment in which 4 people are registered. We pay about $80 for electricity. 80 a month? Yeah, around 80 bucks a month for 4 people. Another wooden barrack where people live, and as you see, these people are desperately trying to maintain it, despite that it's completely rickety. As you can see, it's sinking into the ground so much that the door doesn't close. Everything is crooked and slanted, the windows are being squeezed out. Nevertheless, there's still some old window frames remaining, some decorative snowflakes, and people take care of the surrounding area. They mow the lawn, they plant flowers. So even in these inhuman conditions, they're trying to keep the life going. And the people manage to love their home and take care of it as much as they can. But of course, it all looks like a place where people shouldn't live. Also, you guys can't smell this, but it smells like sewage. The water is nowhere to escape, and it stays here all the time, making the house decay. In winter, it freezes, and then it melts again. This means mosquitoes, rats, cockroaches, and other insects. And of course, the terrible smell of sewage that you can't hide from. I mean, it's not easy walking around here when you're not used to these smells. So, where's the toilet? We have a free-fall toilet inside the house. Oh, so just like that? Yeah, just like that. There's no sewage? No. No water pipes? Nothing? Nothing. What about heating? We have stoves. Oh, so you fire up the stove? Yeah, that's all we have. But hey, at least we have a roof over our head. I see. Okay, thanks. Excuse me, do you know why the water's green? It's the chemicals. Chemicals? To clear the pipes? Oh, I see. It's totally harmless, by the way. Ah.
Doubt!
Okay. Looks weird. All right, so there's pipe cleaning happening right now. They put some green liquid chemical inside these pipes and the water turned bright green. I'm also struck by the constant leakage from these pipes overhead. The water falls down and forms these weird green puddles on this frosted carpet. All this in front of ruined and rotten houses. I can't think of a better location to shoot a horror movie. Welcome to Archangelskas, Sulfat District, the real hell on earth. Let me think. I was 2 years old. 48 years ago was the last time this house was renovated. It was a major renovation. We used to have stoves before. That was 48 years ago. You can't touch the walls because it'll give you an electric shock. There's water everywhere, coming right from the ceiling. This is what our bathroom looks like. There's constant leaking. We can't repair anything either. A pipe has recently burst. They dug up this hole a month ago. I've sent numerous requests, but nothing's been done. And I had to pay from my own pocket for the commission to recognize the house is unsafe. And I had to pay for those experts on my own, because you have to wait 3 or 5 years for the free enterprise.
Expertise, not enterprise. Čia aš vis dar nesuprantu, ar čia AI tiesiog įgarsino kažkoks biškai labiau advanced, ar čia kažkas tiesiog skaito, nes čia tai net su klaida perskaitė. Bet man tas balsas jau grynas kaip AI balsas. Bet jis intonuoja, bet AI dabar irgi intonuoja jau, tai nežinau. Matai, tu sakai, kad žmogus, bet I don't know that.
We're now on the outskirts of the city center. I got a message from a follower on Instagram. He lives here, and he wants to show me these conditions that people live in, even in the center of Archangelskas. I'm gonna meet him now, and we'll see what these houses look like from the inside. I guess this is him. Hey. Hi. So these are communal apartments? Yeah, and the doors don't close. No, not here and not there. That's the exit. All right, these are the rooms. Yeah, it's a section of 8 rooms.
Santuoka jau rodė, ten kur mižalai su šūdais susitinka, matai.
So, how did you end up living here? So, I made a mistake. I sold my old place, wasted the money on alcohol, and bought this room with the money that was left. Then I quit drinking, and now I'm working on improving my life. How much did you buy this room for?
Oof.
I bought this room for 7,000. 7,000! Wait, I'm just trying to understand what you paid 7,000 for. It's city center. How much is it per square foot? 81 bucks?
Tu vienas Kaune net už 7,000 tokio negautum.
Yeah. This is a shared
Kokių
kitchen.
14,000 reikėtų minimum.
8 rooms. All right, guys. I just checked the website for real estate listings, and a 646 square foot 2-room flat in the nearby barrack costs $32,300. Damn. Another one is 861 square feet. Also costs $32,300. But it looks depressing. I think someone died there. They might be selling it together with the corpse. Look, this isn't that bad, actually. I saw worse conditions.
This isn't that bad.
Rats run on the ceiling here, and sometimes poop falls down from the second floor, and
My God.
I have to clean it up. This is how we...
Nu, jo, tas dalykas, nu, tu visą laiką jas gali lygint. Visą laiką gali būti blogiau, tas teisybė, bet standartai kokie, koks yra tas baseline standartas, tai yra neįtikėtina.
We live. We do all the repairs ourselves. Recently the flooring collapsed and we had to fix it. How much do you pay for utilities? $32. Sometimes they randomly turn off the heating in winter. Last winter they turned it off for a month. And what did you do? I had to buy a heater. Look. Oh, I see. Now some people will ask, why should the government even help these people? It's their own houses that are in this nasty condition. They can go earn some money and buy new accommodations. Now this would have been the case somewhere in America, but in Russia, the situation is a bit more complicated. Now during Soviet times, people were usually underpaid. They were paid mere pennies, which was only enough for food and clothes. They couldn't save up. However, the government promised free housing in exchange for their labor. As such, the flats in these barracks were a kind of salary for these people. Although this type of currency quickly depreciated. As a result, people found themselves without money and without housing, which they received instead of a salary. Therefore, in my opinion, the resettlement of these houses now is the responsibility of the state. This is a social responsibility towards the people who have dedicated their lives to work. They worked their entire lives and got this accommodation as a remuneration.
Ja, bet Sovietų sąjunga sugriuvo, Sovietų sąjungoje žadėjo, tai viskas jo. Va ir komunizmas jums.
But the accommodation turned out to be pretty bad. These houses are now collapsing, and the people who have no savings can't solve their problems on their own. The people have been deceived, and it's totally normal for the state to take a bit of social responsibility and help them, and not kick them out on the street or wait until the roofs fall on their heads. All right, here you can see the results of this architectural reconstruction in Archangelskas. This historical building has been eaten up, devoured by this massive shopping mall. First of all,
McDonald's
it was a bad decision to build such a huge mall right in the city center. Secondly, this just looks humiliating. It's clear that they've only left the facade of the building and demolished the rest of it. And this giant construction that destroyed this historical building is absolutely barbaric. You can draw an analogy with like a hunter that kills an animal and hangs its skin or head on a wall. It's pretty much what they've done to this building. They've killed the building and hung its head on the facade of this horrible, disgusting shopping mall. This is actually an object of cultural significance in the region. A house built in 1912. It used to be a manor house and currently is an architectural monument in Archangelskas. I'm not sure if it's a residential building, but all the windows are broken. What amazes me is the contrast in the architecture in this place. I say that because the nearby street is full of faceless brick houses, and it all looks like a typical private residential sector. But then we pass just 50 meters, and there's a street with these historical 100-year-old buildings. Judging by the entrance to this wonderful house, nobody lives here, or someone just doesn't want us to know they live here. They look abandoned and rotten, but they're actually all architectural monuments. This is a real cultural heritage site. Here's one culture heritage object. Here's another. We're surrounded by cultural heritage.
Lygiai Twitch'e pritipanč nieko, ten galima pridėti visokių emotų, ekstra ir panašiai, aš nežinau, net ar pas mane yra ar panašiai, bet pritipanč nieko ypatingo tipo.
Heritage that has unfortunately collapsed. We're now on the street of Soviet cosmonauts. For a long time, it was famous for being the only street in the center of Archangelskas without a proper paved road. There was mud all over the place, and it was kind of a landmark of Archangelskas city center. A few years back, it was finally renovated, and now there's a paved
bent gatvės išasfaltuotos.
road.
Bent tiek, I guess.
However, the rotten, rickety houses were left untouched, and judging by the fact that they regularly catch fire, it's unlikely that they'll ever be repaired. That's sad, because Archangelskas is losing its history, its uniqueness, and its identity. You know, soon these houses are going to be replaced by modern residential complexes, and it'll just be another faceless street. The Russian North, together with the Archangelskas region, is a real reserve of wooden architecture. According to the municipality, there are 73 architectural monuments in Archangelskas proper, more than 20 of which are built of wood. The abundance of forests and timber in the region has led to much of the construction in the north being made of wood, including the building of barracks. Some of these houses are over 100 years old, and they look terrible. But there are architectural heritage, and they could look decent if they were taken care of, regularly repaired, and maintained. Since recently, the problem has been aggravated by the fact that houses began to collapse from the piles. Over the last 2 years, 10 houses have collapsed from the piles. 8 of them weren't even in the program of resettlement. It's impossible to live in these houses anymore, and people need urgent resettlement. Behind me is the Mikhailo Archangelsky Cathedral, a beautiful new cathedral, but for some reason it's surrounded by a fence. The problem of fences in Russian cities is really serious. For some reason, Russian people like to surround all the buildings with fences. What we get as a result is a beautiful piece of land in the waterfront area, which, for some reason, is inaccessible to people. So this territory is now totally lifeless. There are no people walking around. Why build a cathedral and have nice landscaping when you're just going to seal it off? Give it to the people. Integrate it into the public space so that everyone can use it. But what we have is that all...
Gal čia užsakė įgarsinimą anglų kalba iš kokio Fiverr LT ir žmogus tiesiog žiūrėjo, subtitles skaitė ir tipo intonavo pagal tai, kaip jis maždaug ir gal net nesupranta realiai jo kalbos. Nes man labai weird tas įgarsinimas iki dabar ir tą vieną žodį vis tiek neteisingai perskaitė.
All public buildings are fenced off. So much precious land is being wasted. There's nothing more valuable in a city than its land and its public spaces. So why not open it to the people? Instead, it's all being surrounded by fences to create a strict division between sidewalks, land, private property, etc. They didn't even to create a strict division between sidewalks, land, private
Sidewalks, laws, private
property, etc.
Land laws.
Put the fence properly. It looks so clumsy. They just fenced off random pieces of land. They left some of the lawn, but over there they decided to cover some of the lawn. Ridiculous. More fences. Fences everywhere.
Ne, tas pašiuos čia skaito, kokį tu čia numetei?
What the hell? Water for boys and girls? Well, yeah, that...
Abejoju, bet gal.
Here and there, every building, every piece of land is surrounded by a fence. Oh, look at this cute little bridge. Let's see, what is this building? Oh, it's a public school. They made this bridge so that students can come to school dry. And here they put little wooden planks so that people don't walk on mud. Now, see, that's what I call caring for people. Although, this problem could have easily been solved if they didn't put a fence around the school. What's the purpose of fencing off this territory? Why shouldn't people pass here? I'm so fed up with these fences, man. Why do they hate people so much? Hey, what do you think about this parking lot? Oh, like this is a parking lot. Hey, look, buddy, you should tour the local. No, I'm serious. They'll show you places that'll give you nightmares. All right, here's an interesting thing about Archangelskas. Whereas in other cities, people discuss weather or their families, here they discuss which areas of the cities are worst. But let's focus on the beauty that's right in front of me. So I'm sitting on a bench and enjoying this mess that's made by people that park their cars here. But this is actually quite a complex problem. On one hand, people blame the government for their inaction. On the other hand, we see that people themselves contribute to this mess. People park their cars on the lawn, and they take this dirt right to the roads. Then they inhale it, and their children play in it. And then later, these same people complain that the city's polluted, that their shoes are always dirty. I just can't understand how you can be such an idiot to park your car here. What's on the mind of a person who parks here? Why do this? I don't know. All right, here we are in a courtyard. Now, you're right. Before, we were on the streets, and someone could say, oh, this is a street. It's public space, so nobody's going to care about it. Well, here we are in a courtyard, and there are no strangers here. The people who destroy the lawns and make all this mess, these bastards, they live right here. Then they and their children walk through this.
Esmė, kad taip aš nežinau, greičiausiai rastumėm ir Lietuvoje tokių, bet čia vėlgi ta pati diskusija, kad dabar daug mažiau kur. Daug mažiau kur. Nes aš prisimenu tokius kiemus, netgi Klaipėdoje, toj pačioj rajone, kur aš užaugau, ten paeini biškiuką į miesto kampelį ir tu matai, vat namas, nesutvarkytas kiemas, gatvė pusiau sugriuvus, šaligatvio nėra, tešlynas, tipo jo, pilna tokių buvo. Dabar, aišku, daug mažiau. Dabar tenais, jeigu nuvarysi, kaip kita planeta. Viskas sutvarkyta. Ir kiemas, ir viskas sutvarkyta. Namas irgi greičiausiai renovuotas. Tipo, čia tas esminis skirtumas. Ne tai, kad niekur taip nėra kaip čia ir nebuvo, o tai, kad kitur actually improvina situaciją ir daug greičiau. Nes dabar civilizuotam pasaulyje tokios sąlygos neturėtų būti priimtinas, tipo. Nebent tu jau tragiškai ten užkampį kažkur gyveni, kur niekam nerūpi, niekam neįdomu, bet, tipo, nežinau. Nepanašu čia į tokį užkampį, bet gal ir yra, nežinau.
This mud. They did it in their own courtyard. Do you know why your neighbors park like this? I don't know. I don't have a car. But what do you think about this? About what? About people parking like this? Oh, I don't care about that at all. Oh, got it. I don't have time for this. Good. Perfect. This is not the first time when I've approached someone, show them something, they say, I don't care. Or they say, I don't even live here. It's not mine. It's none of my business. It doesn't bother me. Unfortunately, most of the people here are like this. Since there are no clean roads in Archangelskas, people have to improvise. For example, here someone laid carpets and made a real carpet road leading to the bus station. It's all carpeted, guys. I'm like a prince walking on carpets. Oh, they're so pretty and even have drawings. They're everywhere. Look, they go all the way to the right and to the left. People made paths out of carpets. It's very beautiful. Look, okay, they've parked right on the lawn. Is that not allowed? Do you think it's normal that it's so muddy and the dirt spreads along the road and then we get to breathe it in? Yes, all the lawns are destroyed. When I was younger, I used to make flower beds and looked after the lawns. They destroyed everything with their cars, saying, "Why are you doing this? All we want..."
Man patinka, kai tas įgarsintojas bando imituoti moterų balsą, bet su savo intonacija.
Want us to get in the car as soon as we come out of the house and looked after the lawns. They destroyed everything with their cars, saying, "Why are you doing this? All we want is to get in the car as soon as we come out of the house." And I say, but then we'll have no flowers, no lawn. And again, we're not somewhere in the periphery, but this time right in front of the city hall. And what do we see? A total mess. The lawns are ruined. Cars are parked all over these lawns. We're talking dirt, we're talking mud, we're talking broken roads. But the advertisement's still in place. We got billboard 1, billboard 2, billboard 3, ads, ads, ads everywhere. And mud. We're in Archangelskas. Oh, God, I don't want to leave. Good thing it's not so easy, because there's no bus route map at the bus station, probably to prevent people from leaving. It's also very slippery.
Man labai patinka Kaunas pažiūrėjus šitą video. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh,
Alright, so you asked me about quick ways to make the city better? I suggest starting with the bench advertising. It's a total disgrace. Now, I don't know which one of your predecessors approved it and allowed this to happen, but I mean, the problem with advertising in general is pretty serious here. I can't even think of another city in Russia that's so polluted with advertising. Just look at how many ads you have. They're everywhere you look. Look, the entire facade over there, covered with ads. Yeah, this year we've already made a big step in that direction. You know, together with a design firm, we made a design code for building facades and advertisement posters. Last summer, we adopted this code, and hopefully soon we'll have better-looking streets. Well, yeah, design code for facades, great initiative, but what about massive billboards in the city center? Look, there's a huge screen. One massive billboard, many smaller ones. Oh, and the bus stops. Can you tell me which buses stop here and where they go? As a mayor, do you know? That's difficult. All right, bench advertising's on another level. This is such a disgrace that if you see something like this in your city, just know that your mayor hates people, wants everybody to feel miserable. Sitting on a bench like this is so humiliating. What the hell even is this? Oh, by the way, this is a metal bench. And it's made of metal so that you'll never want to sit on it. The reason behind that's quite simple. Those who place advertising on benches aren't interested in people actually sitting on the benches and blocking the ad. That's why these benches are often very uncomfortable, or in this case, made of metal. Now, how should people sit on a metal bench? I have no idea. And just when you think there's no more space for advertising left, you stumble upon this fence with ads placed all over it. Not only did they put fences all around the city, but they also put these ugly ads on those fences. Oh, this is only possible in Archangelskas, the capital of advertising. All right, man, I gotta be honest.
Wow.
This is nuts.
Aš dabar galvoju, taip einant vat mieste, reikia atkreipti dėmesį, įdomu, kiek reklamų yra iš tikrųjų. Nu tikrai yra, bet aš kaip netkreipiu net dėmesio, reikia atkreipti dėmesį, kai eini tiesiog į miestą ir eini. Kiek pamatysi, taip random ant praėjimų visokių.
Even the fences are covered with ads. I've never seen anything like this. But don't you think it's acceptable to have some advertising at least? It's acceptable, sure. But then I think it's a question of priorities. Say you go to a theater, and the movie gets interrupted by commercials every 2 minutes. Now, are you going to visit that theater again? No, you won't. It's fine for the commercials to be at the beginning or at the end. But even then, it still matters what the ads are about and how long they are. And to take it back to priorities, is it more important for you to have a nice city or to pump pump every single penny out of this city. Okay, first, we get rid of the bench advertising. Then, we repair the wooden footpaths. It's a very iconic thing here, these wooden footpaths. It's a cool local feature that should be preserved. This footpath is new, and I think it's the only positive thing about this area. Now, why wooden footpaths? Because there's certain properties with the soil, and if you make a standard asphalt pavement, it's going to break next spring. Whereas the wooden footpath is the local solution to this problem. There are many in the city center and areas like this. This is the only way to move around here without getting your shoes dirty, especially since you can imagine what this is all like in springtime. What happened to this footpath?
O turi jumi kokių monsterių, kur nėra parduotuvėse pirkt? I am not sure, bet galim pažiūrėt. Yra praimai gėrimai, yra kola, yra Java monster. Ai, ble, gal man per paiešką kokią ieškoti galima. Ai, čia šitaip yra. O čia yra paieška. Aš nežinau, kokių nėra, iš tikrųjų galvoju dabar, kurių nėra parduotuvėse, nes aš negeriu monsterio. Bet čia daug pasirinkimų visokių yra. Tai I am not sure. Energetinis. Aha. Energetiniai, jokių nėra. Bet jo, tikiu, kad kai kurie actually gali būti, kurių parduotuvėje nebus. Bet jo, nesu tikras. Jo, ir kad jau atsidavim svetainę, tai va, prašau. Monsterių pasirinkimas pusseserėms pirkti, nes jos mėgsta, kaip pasakė premjeras, mūsų streamo rėmėjai, jumi.lt, akcijos kasdieną, mystery boxai, pristatymas į namus nemokamas, įperkat už 20 eurų, ir fizinės kelios parduotuvės Šiauliuose, Vilniui ir Klaipėdoje darbo, jo. Ir jo, trumpai tik paminėsiu dabar, nes jau, man atrodo, šiandien 2 ar 3 kartus jau minėjau, tai jo, ilgai nesiplėsiu. Kur akcijos mano? Ai, čia jungsiu tiesiog akcijos. Ir Mr. Bishop. Ir Prime'ui, ir naujausias Mystery Box, kurį aš vakar ir gavau. Ok, dabaigiam šitą video.
It's broken.
Ne, Kaune nėra. Apie ką čia kalbėjo?
It's broken.
Ai, tas praėjimas medinis.
When I ask people what happened to the footpath, they look at me like I'm an idiot. Well, can't you see? It's broken. What's your problem? Now, in general, wooden footpaths are very cool and lovely. Although in winter, they should be sprinkled with granite chips, because at the moment, they're very slippery, and it's really dangerous to walk on. Besides, they need regular maintenance, because these rotten planks with holes in them are a disaster. Now, on the other hand, there are so many other problems in Archangelskas that people here probably don't even pay attention to these footpaths and think that I'm picking on too much.
Kaip man būtų smalsu dabar sužinoti, koks yra iš tikro, biudžetas, ir jo, biudžetas Archangelsko, nežinau kaip čia tart lietuviškai tą miestą. Ir kiek ten, su kiek pinigų meras tipo dirba ir tada kiek pinigų actually pasiema vienaip ar kitaip ir kiek tada skiria išlaikymui ir va tokiems renovacijom. Nes galų gale jo, net jeigu tu norėtum tiesiog renovuoti šitą visą miestą, greičiausiai neturėtum lėšų. Niekas tau neduos tiek lėšų ir panašiai. Bet greičiausiai tikrai galėtų daug dalykų geriau padaryti, negu kad čia padaryta, nes kai kurie čia tikrai netiek brangiai turėtų kainuoti. Bet tiesiog nieks net nedarė 100 metų, I don't know. Bet jau neįsivaizduoju, koks galėtų net būti biudžetas tokio, nes oficialų gal ir galėtų ras, bet mane ne tas oficialus, o realus tipo labai domintų. Budget revenue. Archangelskas region year to date. What? Čia regionui visam. Kiek tai yra rublių, pavyzdžiui? Ir čia pala... Ne, čia... Arkan... Čia visą regioną jie paėmė? Jo, čia visą oblast, tą regioną paėmė, jo, tai čia regionui, tai kažin ar ten... Nu jo, okei, čia nenaudinga bus visa informacija.
Okay, another question. At the moment, our city doesn't have a dendroplane, and we can't find a specialist in Archangelskas to make one for us. We contacted several institutions and landscape designers, but no one's qualified to do it. Our city needs a lot more trees. Moreover, our developers owe us several thousand trees as compensatory planting. But we can't tell them where or what to plant. Now, do you know any organizations that provide these services? Well, I can't think of one right now, but I know who to ask and who might help. That would be greatly appreciated. Perhaps we could start with the counties first rather than the entire city at once? Sounds like you need to create this position for a head gardener. Yeah, I agree. You know, there are head architects, head engineers, but no head gardeners, although landscaping is a crucial process. Here they're changing the asphalt, and there's a huge bus stop ahead of us with lots of buses next to it. All right, let's see if we can figure out how to get out of here. We're now somewhere around the city center, and we need to drive like 1.5 kilometers through the main street to get to an even more central. We would like to do so in a warm vehicle because we just have the one pair of ears and we don't want to freeze them off. The problem is that the public transport route and schedule is totally incomprehensible. I'm in the city center and I have no clue which bus to take. I'm confused. I'm in Archangelskas. These buses are going somewhere, but I don't know where. There's no information at the bus stop, not a single map. I think we need to go to the bus station that's over there. We'll try to catch something. I'm not even complaining about the lack of proper crosswalks. It's a total disaster. Here's another bus stop. Maybe it knows the way. Unbelievable. I see a city map. Oh, it's not a public transport map. It's just a tourist map of the city. Yep. Still can't find the public transport map. Oh, the architecture here is extreme. You know, back in the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of pointless and ugly garbage was built here, which completely destroyed the architectural appearance of the city center. Some of you probably think that I show the outskirts and the worst locations in the city. Here we are in the heart of the city center, near the city administration building. And here, all the features of Archangelskas are in place. First, the famous road potholes. The famous Archangelskas potholes that are filled with water. What else? The wonderful advertisements that are all over the place. And on the other side of the fences, here's the poor landscaping, icy sidewalks, and of course,
beveik nieko nerodo, jis pasakoja, ką mato, bet realiai nieko nerodo, tik va šitą kadrą.
About the routes and schedules. Nobody will ever need to leave Archangelskas. That's probably the mayor. This is the scene that the mayor sees from his office. A great, important, although faded banner. It reads, Archangelskas, the city of military glory. We remember, we are proud, we believe. It's not super clear what the residents of Archangelskas believe in, but it is remarkable how even next to this important message, there's room enough for a massive ad screen. Because memory and pride don't take away the need to earn money. I happen to think it's very symbolic. All right, so we're out looking for decent landscaping. We were hoping to find it here on the central waterfront, but we haven't found any yet. We've only found asphalt, we found tiles, weird lamps, and chairs. But at least there's no ads on the chairs. See, that's already an achievement by local standards. Now, unfortunately, this cold wind is preventing me from fully appreciating the beauty of this space. Very weird landscaping. I don't understand how it works. It's a pedestrian zone, but it's paved with
Tai aš angliškai skaitau? Kas man anglų skaitymų blogai? Aš angliškai skaitau geriau negu lietuviškai. Okay, tas daug nesako, bet...
The asphalt for some reason looks weird. These lamps are also weird. You see here, they're facing the water, and it looks like it's bowing its head at the water. But here, they're facing the opposite direction. Why did they decide to put the lamps in different directions? Weird trash bins too. Here it's got one design, and here it's got another. We're back in the city center, and there's construction work going on. Heavy machinery is driving down the hill with loose soil. And obviously, the trucks have scattered that soil all over the road. They don't clean the wheels. See, that truck just parked right on the lawn and beat the hell out of it. Oh, it's just one big mess. I have a question. What kind of dumb idiots working there? Why do they hate this city so much? Because they're making a mess out of it. And then we wonder why our shoes are dirty and why we have breathing problems.
Pievas rodo čia kažkokias, literally, asfalto neturi, tai pievas ir tik yra.
This is why. Look, and nobody gives a damn. This little excavator is making a mess. Everything is covered in mud, and no one gives a damn. What do you think about this? Yeah.
Man atrodo, kai kuriuose vietose gal biški per daug prispisinėja, bet čia, jo, nereiktų to, nes čia ir taip yra, kad, tragiška situacija, tipo, bet kai kur atrodo, gal biški tikrai biški per daug prispisinėja.
Pretty bad. Yeah, and then it spreads all over the city. They got a sad little minibus waiting on the side of the road in front of a rotten and burned out wooden barrack. This is Archangels. It's the symbol. It's the symbol of this city. The coat of arms of Archangelskas should have this minibus and a barrack on it. Oh, also, public transport here is really bad because it's Archangelskas. There used to be a tram that existed here for almost 100 years, from the beginning of the 20th century until 2004, after which it was destroyed. There were also trolley buses up until about 2008. Then the trolley buses were eradicated too. They destroyed the eco-friendly public transport system instead of modernizing it and replaced it with minibuses. Whereas most of these houses are typical and faceless barracks, some have an architectural idea behind them. For example, some have nice balconies and platbans. Some houses even have columns and porticos. For example, this house could have been a nice monument, but it's broken down, it's rickety because it's not used properly. They don't take care of this stuff and they don't do renovations. So often they end up in this critical condition. This is a weird one. We're walking along a nice boulevard, but all of a sudden it stops. Speaking of priorities, because instead of a proper crosswalk, which would have let us walk on this beautiful boulevard uninterrupted, we're forced to cross the road, 1, 2, 3 times instead of just one in order to continue walking. That's because priorities in Archangelskas are upside down. Cars dominate in this city. Yet another example of a mess created by people parking on open soil and then spreading it onto the roads. It's not like we found one exceptional courtyard. No, it's like this in every single one we visit. Right now, it's freezing cold and the ground is somewhat solid. But in spring and autumn, all this soil goes onto the roads. All right, guys, pay close attention. This is a container yard for waste bins. And this is a bus stop. As they say...
Ne 3 dienų iš eilės žiūriu 30 streamų, tai reiškia šeštadienį, sekmadienį irgi nežiūri, nes nestreaminu.
Spot the difference. All right, at least there's a roof and you could...
Taip, ja, biški kai kur tikrai per daug prispisinėja, tarkim. Bet, jo, techniškai problemos visur, bet, I don't know. Biški per daug prispisinėja.
Assume they thought about the people. But there's also an advertisement, which is not found in the container yards.
Nes ypač ten, kur, rodo tos, legit griūnančius namus, kanalizacija, tiesiog ne kanalizacijo laukia, šūdų upė plaukianti, jo, okei, čia ne per smarkiai prisipisinėja. Bet tada visiškai viskas patampa blogai jau. Tipo, inkorporuoja seną, atrenovavo tą sieną į naują pastatą, tas blogai. Naujas pastatas, gal jis ne pats skoningiausias, vis tiek naujas prekybcentris, ten naujas kažkada pastatytas. Irgi negerai, tipo, viskas negerai. Viskas negerai kaip ir nėra, yra kai kur biški patvarkyta. Bet vėlgi, aš nežinau, kaip čia netgi palyginti reiktų su ko Lietuvoje. Jo, aš neįsivaizduoju, net su ko reiktų lyginti. Nes, nu, ble, aš kai mes važiavam čia vasarą Kauno rajone, kur mes važiavam prie tos bažnyčios? Ble, kaip ten vadinas tas rajonas, aš nežinau. Nu, ten šiaip žiauriai gerai sutvarkyta buvo. Ir kai žiūrėjom tos Japono video, kai jis po visokius alytus, ten tauragės ir panašiai važinėjo, nu, šiaip daug tvarkingiau. Nu, civilizacija sutvarkyta. Aišku, jeigu eisi į rajoną kažkur giliai, pamatysi gal ten šaligatvis ne pats naujausias, ar dobelė, ar kažkas. Toli gražu netokių lygių, žinai. Bet pamatysi. Bet jo, bet šičia paskui prispisnėti prie visiškai visko jau irgi gal per daug, bet jo, nežinau, kaip čia vertinti reiktų.
I think the roof here is just to protect the ads from the rain. Archangelskas is insidious not only to adults but also to children. For example, this playground located in a sea of mud. It's probably to prevent children from running away. You're not going to get far in all this mud. Still, it's better to play in mud than on a playground called Little Silovik, complete with slides in the form of military equipment and patriotic songs, which apparently should teach kids to love their country. But there is one good playground in Archangelskas. And I should teach kids to love their country. But there is one good playground in Archangelskas, and I was surprised at where it was hiding. Where do you guys think I am? Judging by these cool swings, are we in some kind of modern hipster place? Actually, we're near the train station. This is Archangelskas train station. The actual station itself is an old rundown Soviet panel building, but next to it is some cool modern landscaping, and the most surprising part is the playground itself. You know, to be honest, I can't even think of another example of a Russian city that has a playground next to the train station. The areas near our stations at home are usually some kind of exclusion zone, complete with homeless people, you got taxi drivers, small-time scammers, a lot of garbage, stray dogs, stuff like that. Basically, it's a place you want to get away from, and that's in contrast to what we got in this city, a real oasis of beauty. Now, this is interesting. Here we got a family with some teenagers who are walking by, and they decided to check out this playground, started swinging, taking photos. Look, if adults like a playground, then it's a good playground. I've often been to Scandinavian countries where wooden architecture is preserved and regularly renovated. There's an understanding that these houses and their inhabitants need to be respected. Archangelskas has the potential to be beautiful, but it needs a lot of work. And unfortunately, many of the European prisons have better conditions than houses in Archangelskas where people are living in 2020. Hey, thanks for watching. Please like this video and let me know.
Okay, nepaisant kai kur tų biški perdėjimų, nu tipo jo parodė, kad man labai patinka Kaune gerai ir Lietuvoje, fuck that. Koks vakaras ilgas, kaip širdį man gelia. Nuskink man jis